we be the armor bearers for for Christ.
Amen.
Going along with Byron's with the Jeremiah project. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Now, I have to admit, gentlemen, that I've struggled with new challenges because I didn't think that I could handle it, because I lacked the confidence to take care of the task that God has given me. But when we look at Jeremiah, he was young, he was inexperienced, and he felt inadequate, but God continually talked to him and told him that he would take care of this monumental task. All he had to do was stand. So when God calls us, his call is always filled with everything necessary to stand strong and complete the task.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for our young warriors, and then I'll give you a chance. For our young warriors out there that may be listening, maybe need some inspiration, some encouragement. Being knocked down is a part of life.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Getting back up makes all the difference in the world. So I just want to encourage you, if you're right now feeling like I can't get up, feeling like you just taking that gut shot. Life has thrown that gut shot at you. And the breath's been taken out of it.
Yes.
I just want to encourage you right now to get up. God gives us all the strength and the power to get up and stand.
Yes.
And one important aspect that we have to remember is we can't let personal feelings get in the way.
Sensitivity.
Yes, it is.
And literally disobedience stop us from doing what God has for us to do. And we keep referring back to what God has for us to do, because he has a purpose for each and every one of our lives. And sometimes it may be something unpleasant that you need to do. But in this particular case with the nation of Judah, they were headed for doom.
Whoa.
Amen.
We don't want to be headed for doom. As believers, we know that God knows each and every one of us personally, and he longs for us to take care of the business at hand and maintain that personal relationship with him. So when you feel overwhelmed by a problem, remember that you're deeply loved by the Father. He has the very best in mind for you.
Yes.
And you must complete the mission by standing up and doing what he tells us to do. Stand up and let God guide you. We must stand strong and let God work us through our problems no matter what. Remember, trouble is always around the corner. And just as the preachers say, we're either in a storm, going through a storm, getting ready to go through a storm. So stand. As the popular song says, child, you just stand.
Sing it, brother. Sing it.
Be quiet.
This is Jeremiah project with Byron G. Okay. Now, if I sing on that, and you can hear it, I'm feeling it. I started pointing to Mark and pointing to my face. I was like, no, I'm going to sing this one. Mark slapped me around a couple times yesterday. Come out here, man. Where are you at? Come out of that phase. Come on.
That's what we were looking for right there. As we get close to John's segment, we have to put some new ways and some rock.
Oh, that's fine.
That
Okay.
was nice, man.
Yeah, I was trying.
So we'll do these two. Got another song coming up. We'll take another break after the church praise song. With a couple more songs.
We have to, 15 minutes already. About 10 minutes we can talk about.
Actually, it's only about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And that'll take us.
Ain't gonna what? Come on. Ain't gonna what? Ain't gonna what? It's 7:57. I mean, yeah. 7:57. 7:57. Right, so how many songs you gonna get? 2 songs, right?
Yeah, include this one.
I know, so it's gonna take us to what? 8:03.
It's gonna take us to
8:05.
Okay. like that.
804?
Something like that, John.
That's what I'm saying, about 10 minutes. Okay, so you're saying you're putting in another song after we talk for 5 minutes. Because I don't know when 8:15.
He got you. He got
Hey,
you.
man,
I'm trying to make
Let the
it.
DJ
You're making it
do
harder.
it.
You're making it harder than it has to be, man. That's what we want to do.
He was
Put 2 songs
Hey, he
in the
was the one
break.
that told me, I can't talk to you
2
now.
songs in the break, man.
No,
Listen, no question in my
no,
mind.
second is supposed to be one, man.
Hey,
I told you at the beginning, I already got a few minutes behind. Right?
You ain't gotta take it out on me, man. We gonna switch it everybody.
So,
Can you give Reverend Slack?
You impressed, huh? Who you impressed?
Who's that?
I said,
Oh, Crash, yes. That's,
I'll give you John's number.
That's your uncle?
Yes, sir.
And you own him?
oh, we need Reverend Slacks, though. I wanna interview him too. For
Mark, he got me.
Okay. The gentleman you told me about, we interviewed him. Is it Mr. Bill? Mr. Bill Buddy?
Oh,
Yeah.
771.
That must be new. I haven't heard that one.
Bob Whiteley.
I mean, it's Kurt. I haven't heard that
yeah,
one.
that's been out for a while.
Oh, it has? Dang.
They did it. BET Music.
Ah,
John Frank.
you must have tables or something.
Actually, yeah.
First and middle name.
okay, we've got, coming up on 2 minutes. Then we'll do our sensitivity, just a little bit. Okay. We'll just touch on it a little bit. Come right out,
Okay.
which is, see, according to this clock, which is what I'm going on, this is 8 now.
A1?
It's 8 o'clock now.
Yeah, me too. So,
Okay.
are you linked up with the most accurate time?
John, you better stop messing with me.
I'm just saying, man, you got the atomic time, the atomic clock.
We've got 1 minute. And going hot. It's all right. You know it's all right, right? It's all right. 1, 2, 3. We got the victory
Yes,
with Kirk
yes.
Franklin. And good morning. Good Sunday morning to you. Welcome to Sunday Morning Perspective. If you're just checking in with us, SMP3 with Marky.
Myron G.
John G.
John G coming up here in a few minutes. He's going to give us a special presentation with TripGear Incorporated.
Yes, yes.
It's what he does. Our topic for the day we've been talking about, actually for the last couple of weeks, is male sensitivity. Male sensitivity. That was actually a story that we were all had an opportunity to read for the weekend. John, how did that story impact you?
A lot, actually. It talks about young, in fact, Reverend Fred Slack mentioned it when he came in the studio, about young African Americans males being extremely sensitive. And what happened was a young lady, they were at an event
Mm-hmm.
and was approached by a guy, and he was touching her,
Mm-hmm.
and she told him to stop. and he pulled out a gun and shot her in the eye, and she died. But the article talked about a number of incidents and in different locations, different cities across America, where you have African American females being murdered. In fact, what I mentioned earlier about my young experience as a freshman in high school. So yeah, so that's tragic. Tragic. Very. Mark and Byron, what's your take on this tragedy?
Yeah, this story touched me personally. I have two daughters, and that sounded like a very, very difficult situation for everyone involved.
Yeah.
I think that there has to be more training, and of course, John, you've spoken on it many, many times, that many of our young black males are being raised by single mothers. There has to be a stronger male influence on our young males in the black community. We need to mentor, we need to train, and we need to set a good example. But some of these things that happen, we can't ignore them. In Indiana, if you commit a murder, you're going to do 50, 55 years. If it's somebody of a different race, you're probably going to do 60, 65 years. So there is a difference. Society says it doesn't make a big difference. It's a 10-year difference if you shoot one of your own than if you shoot someone of another race. So we have to be aware of all these things, and there has to be more sensitivity in our community to where a young man knows that he's got a sister, he's got a mother, he's got a grandmother, he's got women in his family. How would he feel if something were perpetuated on female in his family?
A lot of the negative sides of the sensitivity is that not being able to control or have boundaries on your emotions. And one of the things that goes along with this story is our young males, our young warriors are becoming out of control and hurting and killing the women involved. Domestic violence on our women is not a joke at all. I had the pleasure of talking with some young men a little while back, and it was something that I did called the Warrior Project.
Okay.
And what one of the main focus of the Warrior Projects is trying to talk with our young men and help them to understand, number one, they are so valuable. A lot of them don't feel their value, and they think that they're under attack because they're less than. And the truth of the matter is that no one attacks a target of no value. And one of the things we try to talk with these our young warriors about is understanding, number one, you're so valuable, that's why the attack is coming. Number two is the young warrior is always used to help protect the village. And right now, their village is afraid of them.
Amen.
So we need our young warriors to understand you are highly valued targets. That's why you're getting hit so hard. But in turn of taking it like a man, they're turning on their own village. They're hurting their own women, our own women. They're hurting our own children. They're hurting the village, and the village really needs you for protection. Amen?
Amen.
And I think that goes into some of the self-hatred that many in our community have without realizing their true value to God, to their true value to their community, and what we bring to the table in every aspect of life. Look at sports, look at journalism, any area that you want to look at, medicine. We are a race of people that rise to the top, no matter what.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. So coming up, we've got John, and we want to thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
John's coming up with TripGear segment, and we have Brother Fred Slack in the studio coming up at 8:30 for an interview, and we want you to stick and stay. And we want to thank you for just hanging out with us this morning. Good Sunday morning. John, you'll be right after this song.
Perfect. Sure.
Yeah.
John, you'll be right after this
All right,
song.
8:15 though.
John,
You'll be right after this.
right after this song.
I'm believe it, man. Stop.
Rest your money somewhere.
Didn't we just talk about we might have to make adjustments?
No, I'm good. I'm about adjustments. I'm an adjustment king. You know what a king is? I ain't got no choice. Crazy little
That'll put us right at about 11 after. You want me to do another song though? 'Cause
No,
I
you're
can't-
good. No, the subject is powerful.
But you have two short songs right there, right? That was three and the other one.
John, this is, if you get a chance to see this video, this is Lecrae.
Send me, that's my boy. Send me anything you want me to read or you send it to me. Yeah, I will pull it up.
Sing a song,
I was gonna say, I see you off there. Yeah, but yeah, just send it to me. I'll check it out. You know, I'm
So I'm gonna just let you come in and take it as I get a couple songs together.
okay.
His condition is worsened since we was last in person. I'm with him now, he ain't doing well, but this I'm certain. He's saying
Put the
hard
music
as
bad up on
doesn't
you.
want to discuss you, but he was in the
And
midst
then when I get a song loaded up,
Just today, his anxiety's got the best of him. He knows Christ, but for hours refuse to rest in him.
but you gonna read?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I think
that's perfect.
What you said the last time. Oh, it was like, y'all talk about that? I said, no, we ain't talking about that. How do y'all do that then?
Do what?
Last week, he said, did y'all talk about it? I said, no, I didn't talk about it.
Oh, that was God.
He was like, how did y'all do it?
That
I
was
said,
a God thing.
I said, I don't know. I said, it just happened. He said, y'all talked
You
about
only got
it.
30 seconds. I'm going high.
About is really me. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you.
Yeah. I remember the Gangster Me Part 1. This the Gangster Me Part 2. Yeah, me again, still running and rolling from sin. You remember me. Began like Jack Gunn. They tried to give me 10. Changed my style, my G's. Yeah, they went wild. They wanted me to stimulate, mind procrastinate. I wanted and willing to escape. Getting back to me. Got Gangster Part 3. Yeah, you'll see. Some of my homies wanted to be masters of me. I said, please. Got to be able to articulate, relate. The Gangster Me Part 2. The Gangster Me Part 2. Some of the groups started to hate, even Nate. To be real, it started to show how my dogs really feel. They wanted me along for the ride, yeah. It was all about my sensitivity and pride. I thought I had a friend. It seems an enemy was on my side. Some hearts stuck on pride. Could not get away. They tried. Mind, soul, heart, like Bunny and Clyde. Get the funeral home notified. Neurotransmitters tied. Thoughts handcuffed. Sure enough. Yeah, Grip, you still haven't had enough? It's all about being tough. Yeah, undercover scheme like Inception. Taking all your dreams. The Gangster Me Part 2. The Gangster Me Part 2. Like Matrix with electric beams. Everything not as it seems. We're not on the same team. You call me friend. But you, my foe. I'm doing good, but you want the right flavor and favor to go. I'm saying, no, this is my life. I'm the director and producer of this reality, fatality show. I'm just being frank, sir. Got to do right. Did not know it would be taking a lifelong fight. Gangster Me Part 2. Gangster Me Part 2. I was always be a gangster. My mama gave me the words to cure. Just caught in the evil lure. Yeah, rhymes with manure. Let me make something perfectly clear. I'm still a gangster for the force of good. Yeah, G. Knew me when I was doing wrong, bleeding evil strong. I was AT&T, always on call for my dogs, willing to take the fall. Tripping out in the mall. Changed man. Now, as Byron G said, standing tall.
Wow, the gangster in me. Welcome to Sunday Morning Perspective with John G. John, we didn't get a chance to do this last week, and I so apologize. What is that? What are we talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about, this is part of the Behavior 100 curriculum, and this is one of the teacher's guides. This one is called Volume 2 of TRIP, so that's 13 different stories. But it also has stories that help young learners decode messages, and one of the things we're talking about this morning is sensitivity and the inability of young gentlemen and warriors, as you said, Mark, to be able to differentiate in how to decode situations. If someone steps on your shoes, if someone looks at you wrong, how to be able to navigate those situations. So these stories, which are poetic and have we call illustrations, imites, which images, to be able to help young learners, African Americans and all learners, in fact, to decode messages, to be able to say that I'm sorry, my bad, apologize, and be able to use certain very simplistic mannerisms to defuse situations. So that's one of the things we lack in our community. And a real quick example is, I'm from Gary, so I went home about 7 or 8 years. I go home every year, two or three times a year. And I asked my nephew, who's a teacher, and I said, where can I play basketball at? And I said, well, Ironwood. And he said, no. I said, what about Roosevelt? And he said, no. I said, what about Tolston? He said, no. And I said, I'm running out of places. He said, you can't play outside basketball anywhere.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, because when you play basketball, it's a hard foul. The guys run to their vehicles, and that's never a good sign. If they start going to that, so we have to really work on that. And what I attempt to do through the Behavior 100 curriculum is use language and arts, reading, writing, creative writing, critical thinking skills, and comprehension to teach young learners how to be able to be a community, which one of the things that we're missing, and especially in the inner city.
So John, would you say that there's a segment of our society that's overly sensitive based on what you just said about the hard file?
Yes, I think what you said earlier, Byron, about 75 to 80% of the mothers are raising the sons in that environment. In fact, we got a story called The Chronicles of Jack Gunn that we'll eventually get to in months to come that talks about those situations, about they're taking on some of the attributes, which is natural, the attributes of their mothers, and so that draws more problems, then they are not getting, as we all agree, don't have the father figures or the uncle or the stepfather, father, or older cousin to help them to do that. And one thing that we talked about last week that's so prevalent is that the big migration that no one is talking about, and I'm part of it, is a lot of black parents that move from the cities to the suburbs.
Yeah.
Four stepsons, but 3 came from Gary to Indianapolis. And the problem with that is about 90% of the elementary teachers are going to be white females and in their early 20s. So, and they do not have the social, cultural experiences to help young black boys and girls to decode messages. It's just, and I'm not speaking of what I read. I've been a substitute teacher for 22 years. So in the private schools, charter schools, inner city schools, and I've seen a lot of different perspectives. But in fact, they even have a special code that they use
Wow.
Yes, that our European teachers use for the black kids.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll talk about that hopefully in months to come also.
Okay, okay. And one of the things that, you know, I want you to please do for us, John, is kind of give a little bit of your background, because one of the things that fascinates me about TripGear
Yes.
is, and you may not know, but John designed his own curriculum to help our kids with all kinds of learning. One of the things you said to me is that our kids learn
Yes, correct.
differently. And so what inspired you to come up with your own curriculum?
Well, it's a couple of things. One was I was a substitute teacher at Pulaski,
Mm-hmm.
and I was also a correction officer at Westville, one of the largest prisons in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
And I seen, this is about 18 years ago, and I seen so many similarities. In fact, to be honest with you, sometimes, this is a middle school. I didn't know if I was at the prison
Wow.
or the middle school. Because I had to change over in the middle school, because I would leave from the middle school to go directly to Westville, about 45 minutes from Gary, and I couldn't differentiate. So at that time, while I was watching about 500, you don't call them prisoners, you call them offenders, as a correction officer, watching them, that's when I started in a very small door, because they were in a squad bay and bunk beds. I started writing the first story called The Chronicles of Jack Gunn,
Okay.
that had a way of the student to, or the pupil to prison, became a reality to me, because I was witnessing it. 14 years in the Marine Corps, had a chance to go to school and get a BS in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
I also got a MA in human services. I'm still working on my doctorate and actually in community service and leadership and intervention. And one of the things, I was in education, Byron, Mark, and young Paul, and Fred. I was doing that, but it's a system.
It is a system.
It's institutionalized, and it's because it's about individualistic. That's how we've been taught by European brothers. That's how to be an individual. However, cultural-wise, we're the opposite. So are Asians. So are Indian people. So we've been taught that. So it's an indoctrination process, and I've seen it being in all these different schools in all these different areas. But then I started writing curriculum. I wrote a curriculum called Leadership by Example at the township, 5 townships, Lawrence North, Lawrence Central, Belzer, and Craig, and Harrison Hill had a program called Steering Young Minds. Actually, I'm sorry, Steering Young Minds was in Gary. They had a program here called Application for Life that was in 5 schools.
Okay.
So I realized at that time that anything that we do should be curriculum based.
Okay.
And it was important, so we can go back and make changes if there are mistakes. And then if something happens to me, someone can take over and be able to use that same curriculum. But we need to use images in order to help our young learners to decode messages. In fact, we're about 20 years behind Europe, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa. They've been using graphic novels for middle school students for 40 years. Now, people say, why are we using it? Well, I've talked to teachers. It's really simple. We're talking about sensitivity again. The teachers, because of our brains are designed different than teenagers and young children, the young children can pick out the metaphors in the illustrations before the teachers can. So the teachers are sensitive and say, I don't want these kids to know more than me. So they, as a pushback, to use graphic novels as a way to introduce reading, writing, creative writing, comprehension, and critical thinking skills. So that's a big issue.
Now, John, how effective have you found these programs to be as far as being receptive, the school system being receptive?
Well, I said this before, if the principal, dean, if they understand it's a need, in most cases they're African Americans, if they understand it's a need, then they want the program. But the problem we run into is that the teachers have a problem teaching the program because you have to have those experiential You have to have those social, cultural events in your life to be able to connect with the children. I've had teachers that tell me, I can't work with these black boys. Many white teachers, I can't work with these black boys. I can't do it. I've had a teacher, I got put out of one school because the teacher told the principal, Mr. Hunt can work with these kids better than I can. I need him here. And the principal was intimidated, and told me not to come back.
Wow.
So that's more than one school. But anyway, the point is that it is intimidating because when you stand, we've all said in this room, once you stand as a black man, African American, Negro, colored, once you stand, we can be intimidating, especially if you have just a little bit of sense. So when you bring in a curriculum, not just a piece of paper, but actually my curriculum is 469 pages. So when you actually bring in a curriculum, and then you have some of the same credentials they have or higher, right? And then you know what you're talking about. If you've done your research, and then they look at you like, who do you think you are? And I said, have you heard the story of Jeremiah? No.
Hey, look, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, John's going to talk more about TripGear and also give you an opportunity to find out where you can actually view, take a look at his curriculum. So we'll do that coming up. These guys here will be on the show next week. Jay and Marv, they'll be here for an interview next week. But stay tuned because John's coming right back. This is only an intro, so it's only like 1 minute.
Okay, yeah. She was lesbian.
Nice, man.
She put me on Fall Creek person. She's a lesbian.
Who they really are.
Yeah.
He had a class,
Yeah, those are
white
students.
teacher had a class that was brothers and sisters with emotional issues.
John,
And she would
I'm
call
sorry
me
to
at home.
interrupt. When we come back, you'll have 5 minutes, so you got plenty of time to.
You may go into one of these, or we can just talk. So
We can just
wanna
talk.
talk?
You do,
Okay,
yeah,
we
that's
talk.
great, man.
We talk.
And you go ahead and do your thing.
Okay.
But when I come out of here, I'm going to talk a little bit about who these guys are, then hand it over to
Okay.
you.
Oh, this is them.
You and Byron.
Oh. I didn't get it.
You didn't
This
get
is
what?
J and Mark.
Yeah,
Oh.
Oh, back and forth.
Mike's going hot. And welcome back to Sunday Morning Perspective,
Yes.
SMP3 with Mark E.
Byron G.
John G.
And John's going to give you an opportunity to find out where you can actually view Behavioral 100 curriculum. It's awesome. And also, as I said before the break, those guys, Jay and Marv, are going to be here next week
Yes,
for
yes.
an interview at 8:30. They are local artists. They are ministers and deacons. They are young brothers who are in the community trying to help out. They're going to be here next week. And for today, in just a few minutes, we're going to get a treat with our in-house guest,